Norway is often called the perfect country, calm, prosperous, and balanced in almost every way. It ranks near the top in income, education, freedom, and happiness. Every citizen technically owns a share of the country's trillion-dollar sovereign wealth fund, the largest of its kind on Earth. On paper, it's paradise. But behind that image of effortless success lies a quieter, stranger question. Can a nation become so rich that it forgets how to stay successful? Most countries fear running out of money. Norway's danger is the exact opposite, a fortune so massive that it's quietly reshaping how people live, work, and solve problems. For decades, Norway has been praised as proof that natural resources can be managed wisely. But is it possible that this discipline has turned into complacency? To find the answer, we have to go back to a time when Norway wasn't rich at all, when it was a rugged fringe at the edge of Europe, struggling to survive against nature itself. For most of its history, Norway seemed destined to fail. The land was rough, the winters brutal, and only about 2% of the soil could grow crops. Entire valleys lay trapped under snow half the year. Many left for America. Those who stayed built a culture around cooperation, not because it was noble, but because it was necessary. In every fishing village, families shared boats, nets, even livestock. The sea was dangerous, but it offered something the mountains never could: a way out. The same fjords that split the landscape apart connected people through water. They became natural highways for trade, allowing small communities to link together. Timber and fish became lifelines to the world, and as boats grew larger, something unusual began to form: a deep sense of economic equality. Whole towns would build ships together, dividing ownership among everyone who contributed, from carpenters to captains. Wealth didn't flow upward to elites, it circulated among neighbours. That simple pattern, shared risk and shared reward, became part of Norway's identity. It would one day define its politics, its economics, even the way it managed oil. But the journey from frozen poverty to oil wealth was still a century away. By the 1800s, Norway had learned to turn isolation into opportunity. Where farming failed, shipping thrived. Its coastline stretched longer than all of Europe's other borders combined, carved into deep fjords that sheltered ships from storms. Logs from the interior forests floated down mountain rivers to coastal sawmills powered by waterfalls. From there, planks were shipped to ports across Europe. Norwegian timber built British ships, Dutch wharves, and German houses. The profits didn't stay locked in royal vaults. They paid for schools, boatyards, and a new merchant class rooted in hard work rather than inheritance. By 1900, Norwegians commanded one of the world's largest merchant fleets, astonishing for a nation with fewer than 3 million people. Equality was now more than an idea, it was the engine of society. This shared prosperity created deep trust in both community and government, something rare at the time. Still, compared to Europe's industrial powers, Norway remained small. It had nature, ships, and discipline, but not the power to compete. And then, beneath those icy waters, the country's luck changed forever. In December 1969, engineers from Phillips Petroleum drilled into a pocket of crude oil beneath the North Sea, the legendary Ekofisk field. With that discovery, Norway joined the ranks of the world's energy giants overnight. But it refused to follow their playbook. Where others rushed to privatize, Norway regulated. In 1972, the government created Statoil, later Equinor, to guarantee national control. Any foreign company that wanted in had to partner with the state. That decision shaped everything that followed. Oil wealth poured into a country already equipped with strong institutions, educated citizens, and almost no corruption. Revenues built schools, universities, power plants, and roads instead of palaces or propaganda machines. By the early 1980s, oil and gas made up more than 20% of Norway's economy. Yet democracy didn't crumble. Instead of black gold destroying the state, it strengthened it. Norway had found a way to be rich, responsibly, but even careful success can tempt fate. The government knew how oil had destroyed others, turning them into unstable petrostates. So they planned the next move decades ahead, creating a structure that would protect the country even when the oil ran dry. In 1990, Norway built the Oil Fund, a safety vault for every barrel sold. Each surplus krone would be invested globally, not domestically, to avoid overheating its own economy. And only a small slice, 3% per year, could ever be withdrawn to fund the budget. It was brilliant in its simplicity. By exporting oil and investing profits abroad, Norway turned volatile energy money into stable, long-term growth. The fund ballooned beyond $1 trillion, owning shares in over 9,000 companies. Every Norwegian effectively became a global investor. This gave the country a kind of financial immortality, living off interest instead of extraction. Healthcare, education and welfare became nearly untouchable, supported by steady returns. Yet that safety triggered a subtler danger. Security itself became the risk. When your future feels guaranteed, innovation starts to feel optional. Norway's great challenge was no longer poverty or corruption. It was complacency creeping in under the surface of success. By the 2010s, the warning signs were becoming hard to ignore. After 2013, something shifted. The economy kept growing, but slower. Productivity stalled, wages leveled off, and the krone fell nearly 50%. The government's spending rose faster than its output, and households started borrowing heavily. The oil fund now covered about a fifth of the national budget. With prosperity guaranteed, the sense of urgency that once defined Norway began to fade. Policies grew safer. Ambition felt unnecessary. Public spending reached 60% of GDP, among the world's highest. But results were mixed. Schools and hospitals received record funding while test scores and efficiency dropped. Norway was paying more to stand still. Economists warned that this was the classic symptom of abundance, a belief that money can solve anything. For a country built on collaboration and hard work, that mindset was dangerous. The world's richest democracy risked slowly drifting into mediocrity. Had Norway's greatest strength, stability, quietly become its weakness? Critics like economist Martin Beck-Halter accuse Norway of leaning too heavily on its fund. He argues that the welfare model now cushions people from risk instead of inspiring them to take it. Dependence on oil money, he warns, has made citizens comfortable but less productive. He points to the irony that even Norway's green transition, electric cars, wind farms, sustainability programs, is bankrolled by fossil fuel profits. The energy that polluted the planet is now paying to clean it. Defenders counter that the entire developed world faces stagnation. From Germany to Japan, technology has matured and populations have aged. At least Norway's slowdown comes with stability, equality, and trust, things most nations would trade for in an instant. Still, the unease lingers. The fund was designed to serve the people, yet the people are beginning to depend on the fund. That subtle reversal is hard to detect until it's too late. History, though, suggests that Norway won't stay static. When faced with harsh reality, it always pivots. The next pivot may already be underway, hidden not in the sea this time, but beneath its mountains. In 2023, geologists announced one of the most surprising discoveries in modern Europe, the world's largest known deposit of phosphate rock buried in southern Norway, roughly 70 billion tons, enough to feed generations and power a new industrial revolution. Phosphate isn't glamorous, but it's vital for fertilizer, batteries and electronics, the backbone of any green economy. Tests also revealed titanium and vanadium, strategic metals used in aircraft and energy storage. Overnight, Norway went from cautious petro-state to a potential clean energy superpower. Combine that with its immense hydro and wind capacity and its near-total adoption of electric vehicles, around 90% of new cars, and the picture becomes clear. Norway is quietly building an energy ecosystem unlike anything else. Fossil fuels that pay for renewables that fund more exports, which in turn refill the fund that invests globally. It's a self-sustaining loop of wealth and efficiency. But material prosperity raises an immaterial question. Can a nation that solved almost everything still find purpose? Norway's rise is often told as a miracle, a harsh northern land that turned scarcity into security and wealth into wisdom. Yet every miracle hides a price. The very shield that protects Norway from failure could, one day, protect it from progress. The danger isn't collapse, it's inertia, the soft stillness that settles when success feels eternal. When comfort replaces curiosity, even the best systems lose their edge. Norway's greatest treasure was never in its wells or mines, it was in its culture of trust. That spirit of cooperation, born from rocky coasts and thin soil, created one of the fairest societies on earth. If that collective instinct survives, the country will adapt again and again. If it fades, all the money in the world won't save it. So perhaps the real question isn't whether Norway has too much wealth, but whether it still remembers why it gathered that wealth in the first place. Because while other nations dream of striking oil, Norway might already have found something more valuable: the wisdom to know when enough is enough.